What is up, boys, girls, second channelers? Today's video, I want to talk about being the best. Um, I suppose not many people are cut out to be the best at anything or to particularly excel, but not everything requires strict talent in order to be the best. Um, some things, even if you weren't born for it, or you're not the smartest, or you're not the most ingenuitive or the most traveled or experienced, you can still find yourself being the best at with sheer perseverance and determination and willpower. Not everything, of course. I'm not going to suddenly be 6'2" and start hooping in the NBA. Nor will I ever probably be like a world class League of Legends player or something like that. But there are games or there are things you can do where you can become an expert in a matter of time. I'm only good at a few different things. I've been writing poetry, for example, for almost 15 years now. I'm pretty good at that. I think I'm going to get published at some point. I'm going to pay to publish myself. It's not like I've been scouted. These are just my own notebooks that I write into. I was the number one of a few different characters in League of Legends at one point in my life. Um, Not because I was particularly skilled, but because I figured out what was going on and what I had to do, and I just did that same thing cookie cutter repeatedly, and never gave up. That kind of perseverance is really important when attempting to be the best. In the new game I play, I am one of the best at the very least. Perhaps I don't want to be too egotistical about it, but I'm very good. Um, when I was younger, there were other things that I was very good at, whether that was being a National Hispanic Merit Scholar, ranked nationally for test scores and auto admission honors or whatever. Not that I cared too much about that. I was kind of a degenerate when I was younger, or whether it was in whatever degeneracy I was involved in. I tried to be the best at that or the most known for it. I loved getting my name out there. Anyway, point of the video is you'll be the best at something. You'll be exemplary, we'll say, and other people will look at you, and some will want to model themselves after you to try and recreate the success you've had, but some will simply hate. Whether this is because they've seen their own lives pass by, or they've already given up, or simply they were never meant. Right? They've conceded that they were never meant to make it in the first place. And to some extent, they're right. Most people, especially people who wake up in the morning, who are upset at another person, they're nothing. Uh, I mean, I was thinking about it the other day, because there are people who wake up in the morning, um, and wake up in the morning hating me, that actively don't like me. In this world, there may be 5 people who I think would try to take my life, if given the opportunity to. Uh, I think they would do it. It's not a huge number. I suppose it was more when I was younger, but it's still there, right? There's still people that will simply go for it if given the opportunity. It's not that I've never considered um, something like that to another person. However, it's never from a point of view of I want them to not succeed. It's they've hampered my success in such a way that I feel the need to salvage my reputation. It has nothing to do from like a personal point of view. It has to do with what does the legend look like? What does your public persona look like? And how would you salvage that? Um, I think that if you're trying to be the best, or if you're simply navigating your way through life, it's a very questionable thing to do to look upon others and to want to tear them down. Many, many, many people will do that to you, but for every one person that's the best of something, there will be a plethora that are either under them or nowhere near them. People you never even consider, you never even look at. Um, However, in being the best, it's not simply that you have to not be these people. Um, you have to shift your reality to accompany their perspective. Um, the perspective of like the average person, or I suppose the below average person in this case. If you're like a D1 professional hater, you're probably like below the average person. No, that's pretty average. Um, you have to you have to relate to it. You can't separate yourself from it. You have to think that some people are just going to freak out. And these people aren't necessarily, they're not evil for doing that. To some extent, they are just hurt or hopeless or insecure. And sometimes the understanding of them is just as helpful as the desire to keep yourself from becoming that. To understand the other point of view is the ability to keep yourself from point A to point B. Um, I once with my ex, she had a brother who was very fat and very stupid, um, shockingly dumb. Actually, it always surprised me because he was a very analytically intelligent individual. Just experience wise, his intellect stopped him from having wisdom. He had such an ego and such a lack of humility that he thought he was above things. Like, for example, he'd think he was like some kind of nutritional guru, and he essentially made himself morbidly obese and like ran his bodily health into the ground to some extent to where Jabba the Hutt might look uh, to be in a better situation. Now, some people are fat, and I understand. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of fat people or being fat, but I got it, bro. Some people play too many video games. Some people are alcoholics. Some people have food addictions. Cool, right? His point of view, though, is that he is like 3 times healthier than somebody who's like average size. Um, and in his head, he's losing weight, but obviously not. He's gaining it. Anyway, long-winded explanation for he is a hater. He's always been a hater. He can't help but be a hater. And it's crucial to understand that although he is stupid and fat and poor, that there's a point A to point B. Like, I've probably never been stupid, but I've been pretty fat. I've been incredibly poor. Um, I generally try to stay humble, but I mean, I have an ego as well. Anyway, there's a point A to point B to get to the position he's in, the unself-aware, essentially mentally comatose position that man is in. Any one of us can get to. Now, it's a long, winding road the further up you go, but there's always a way to get there. And if you're not constantly thinking about how can I stay competitive, how can I respect people with similar skills, even if somebody doesn't do something the same way that you do it, at the end of the day, what works works. And it's important to realize how it works, even if it only works um, slightly worse than what you do. You could do something absolutely magnificently. However, it's still important to look at your competition, right? You look over and you're like, what are they doing? Why are they doing it that way? Because you may be so skilled at something. So, for example, in one of the games I play, I'm so skilled at it, at grinding for like materials and resources in this game, that I don't do everything as efficiently as possible. I just have logged so many hours and I'm so mechanically adept that although I'm not completely efficient with everything I do, I can still get a ton of resources and materials in that game because of the amount that I have done. I've killed hundreds of thousands of whatever mobs in the game, where comparatively, like a non-competitive player may kill like 20, 30,000 in a 5-year career, and my 2 and change year career, I've killed like 200,000. Um, and it's a different type of scenario, right? But then I might look at other people who perhaps are not as efficient as me, but they might be less efficient because they're less mechanically adept. However, they may be kind of competitive with what I'm doing, right? Not necessarily as good, but close. because of their setups. Their setups could just be straight better than mine, right? Because I might be mechanically adept. I might be good at the few things I'm doing, which is poetry, streaming, entertainment, some mechanical skill. I have some things that I'm good at, but I'm not like a brainiac. I don't have the biggest brain. So some people might have a bigger brain than me. Anyway, point is, if you're going to be the best at something, there'll be many people that hate you for no reason. The way to convert them to your side, usually, is to talk to them when they criticize you, even if the criticisms are unfounded. You don't attack them back. You think to yourself, they might have a bad day. They might be bad because of this. Their life might suck. Because if somebody's hating on you, unfounded, number one, you find out if it is founded or not, because sometimes it is. Sometimes people have had completely reasonable criticisms of me, and I've taken it poorly because I'm hurt, because I'm just a human being with emotions. So find out if it's founded. If it's unfounded, think of why they might be doing it, and then don't attack them over it. Just ask them questions, especially if you're in a public forum or if you're in a social situation. Asking somebody questions, what would you do in this situation? Or how would you change this? Generally, if it's an unfounded question, they'll look completely horrific. It'll make you look really good. And so that's how you deal with haters. And then in terms of being at the top, another thing you can do, I would say the second thing, is I would look to maintain competition by not only practicing and staying in shape, but by evaluating your competition. I don't know what it is. When I see people who are successful in like podcasts or shorts, and they're always talking about they're always on the lookout for, oh, I just looked at people around me and I'm like, I need to do this better, I need to do this better, and I can do this better than them, right? And they always talk about their hunger for the top, like an amalgamation of all the honor that they've made, or all of the knowledge and intellect and wisdom they've made on their own to make it there. Or maybe they talk about having one mentor. But what I'm saying is recognize that you're almost never the smartest person in the room. Frankly, people always talk about being the smartest or most powerful person in the room, and the fact of the matter is you're not, like, ever. Shockingly, just perspective wise, right? You might be the smartest in entertainment, you might be the smartest in a game, but like someone between two people, you will generally not wholesale be better than another person every metric, right? Another person will have skills that you just don't have, and that's okay. That's like a very common thing. You'll need that humility, especially when it comes to being the best, and especially when it comes to transferring being the best at one thing towards building skills in another, right? Because you can be extremely adept at, like a handful of things. It doesn't just have to be one or two. I don't know why people are so fixated on getting to the top, and they're like, oh, well, like a race car driver is not looking in his rear view, or something like that. People have this thought process that once you get to the top, you just stop paying attention to other people. And to some extent, I would say you don't necessarily take in all information, but you view a lot of credible information and use your own experiences to evaluate it, and experiences and evaluations of people you trust, other people that you're in competition with. Let's say your peers. You have like a, I guess, peer review for the information you're receiving. So I would say in total, in terms of being the best, be humble. Be humble to those who criticize you. Be humble of your position as the best, ironically. And remember, from the best to the worst, it's a simple path, or a winding path, but a path nonetheless. Good night.